So yeah, I've just done the boring bit. I've just taken Team Liquid. I actually do think, I have to say, I think Team Liquid are coming full circle through all the narratives, all the ups, all that. They look like they are the best team in the LCS again. Do you agree? Do you have them as your best, or do you favour 100 Thieves? Where are you going on this one?
I mean, if there's ever a time to have any hope, some delusion, if you want to be delusional about World's chances, Team Liquid's the team for that. They really look so much better, and I think part of it is that, like you said, this roster is so stacked, right? Before the season started, before you even saw the results, the roster is stacked, and that usually means that you got veterans. You got players that have experience that you can count on when it comes to playoffs, when it comes to big series. And they got bored of the regular season that has no stakes. They have said this before. Alfari says it in interviews all the time. It's just straight up bored with the way the format is. It's very long. The stakes aren't really there. But now comes the best of. Now comes the times where the matches actually have Worlds implications at stake, and they turn it on. Right? This is where they're making their money. The org doesn't really give a shit if you don't do well in the regular season, as long as you win, as long as you show up, as long as you go to Worlds. That's what they really care about. So this is what the players also care about. So I think that turning it on now is not a surprise to me, but the way that they have overcome how much shit happened to them is really impressive. I had no faith in this team when they didn't have Santorin. I thought that they're really just not going to go far. But when Santorin came back, it's like, all right, now you actually have a way to unlock your laners, because that was the biggest problem. There was no synergy between working with Alfari, working with Jensen, and especially with Core JJ. And, it's not Armeo's fault. I just think Santorin is a stronger player, but when he's on the team, they look so much better. I don't think the other teams really look close, and they're still playing to Alfari's style. They're still playing to his same champion pool, the same top 4 picks that are always relevant. The thing is, his pool is literally the most dominant. I know.
He's amazing on them all as well.
Right? Like, it's like if somebody went to a coach, one of these online coaches, and asked him, "Hey, I want a champion pool, and I just want to win lane. Like, what champions should I want to play?" It's just all of Alfari's champs. It's Gangplank, it's Gnar, it's Jace, then maybe it's a Camille, maybe it's a Renekton, and that's about it. But you're not banning him out because there's too many other broken shit in the game, and he's always going to get one of this, and the team is always going to play around it, and you're just going to get crushed in lane against it, and it works. No one's good enough to keep up with it. And so TL can just continue to play this way, and no laner is actually good enough to play against it. It's been pretty obvious. And when he has Santorin, when he's got Core JJ helping him out, it's just no one can match him. Right? It's just too good in lane, and with the team to back him up, you can only fight this if you have players of the same caliber that have matchups that are just as good into it, that they have the same champion pool to fight these champs with, and then you have to have a jungler and a support to do it. And I just don't think there's anyone in NA that currently has this. Cloud9 won't be able to keep up with this.
Yeah, I'll also add as well, this is why during the split, whenever we would have discussions on shows about like Team Liquid, for example, I even said towards the end of the regular split, like, I'm not being as harsh as the other people are, where everyone was going like, wow, Jensen's washed, he's fallen off. Blah, blah. I was like, mate, surely you get a pass when you A, don't even have your real jungler, and B, your coach fucking quits halfway through the split. Like, you've got to give someone a pass for that. Like, the team's dynamic was obviously garbage because they didn't really have a real team, did they? Like, Alfari wasn't playing most of the games and then got brought back in awkwardly. The coach was fired / quit. And then, as I said, the jungler only basically came along at the very, very, very end. So Team Liquid never really got like a proper chance to see what their team was. Like, I'm not surprised they were so bad at times. But this team now looks monster. Like, what's great now as well is, Crumbs, you can even see where like strengths of players like then make the other players. Like, I'll give you an example. Imagine being Jensen. In the past, like in the Cloud9 days, you were the whole win condition. It was like, right, you must win lane, you must carry on your champion, it will be all on you in the team fight. When he plays now, most of the attention's going to top lane because everyone's trying to shut down Alfari. So when you are Jensen and you're just playing fucking Syndra, Oliver, you're just no jungle attention to you. You're just farming. If you wanted, you could roam. I mean, you are Jensen, so you're probably not going to roam very much. You're just going to hit minions. But this is his dream, dude. Like, he's loving it. And by the way, I'm pretty sure, I know a lot of people expected this. I'm speculating, I never actually asked him, but I'm going to go ahead and speculate he personally asked for Santorin. If you know the kind of junglers that Jensen seems to like, Like, that seems exactly in his wheelhouse. He wants the support of junglers just going to come when he says, you know.
I mean, Santorin he's kind of like Xmithy, but yeah, I guess it's very similar to Xmithy now in hindsight. Just a jungler that will be there, does his job, can carry if he needs to, has the relevant champion pool, is okay with giving up his lane. And I mean, Xmithy was the winningest jungler in the LCS, and I think Santorin's gearing up to do that right now. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that this style is really, it works here, because the laners are the ones that usually are the ones who are getting imported. They have the highest skill ceiling, it would seem. So just pair him with junglers that will back him up, and it usually works better. So it's not a surprise to me that Team Liquid has come up with this roster. The surprise is going to be how they do at Worlds, because I'm always victim to getting perhaps more hype than they should be. And that's not to say that I am very particularly hopeful, but that there is more hope than I think history warrants, because these players are of world class, right? Core JJ is a world class support.
Yes.
Alfari is a world class top laner. Like, that's already 2 out of 5 pieces. Santorin can work with them. I think Santorin would be world class. Probably not the best jungler in the world, but plays control, does his job, isn't really losing you games, right? He's doing his fine job. Tactical, holds his own, right? He can farm, he can land skill shots. Great. Jensen has proven to be pretty good at Worlds, so
I think they've got the pieces, dude. This really could be
right?
this should be a playoff team, right?
Like, yeah, like, I think this could be a team that makes it out of groups. This could be a team that makes it out of groups.
Agreed. Because the thing is, I think unlike past years, like, the only weak spot in the Team Liquid lineup for me is tactical, and that was only when he was like playing things like Justana and he was basically stinting a little bit. I actually think with the current kind of like in NA, people aren't really playing through bot lane anyway. They're playing more like supportive, and as you say, Core JJ just roams anyway, mate. He's on his own farming. So like, as long as he just plays safe essentially and just doesn't die, it's fine. That's the rest of the players are good enough, and especially the best thing is, like, they've got the two advantages. That one, look at the solo laners, dude. This may as well be like a top European team if you look at the solo laners, and then as you point out, mate, Core JJ is always going to be the OP one. Core JJ might be the only player I've ever seen come to a Western region and not look like he ever stepped down a level. Like, I know he maybe has games that aren't good, but he always gets back to this peak level. Like, there's a reason the guy's won the fucking MVP a whole bunch of times. Like, deservedly so. He's ridiculous, isn't he?
If there is a player, like, the highest paid player should be Core JJ.
I agree.
I think, no doubt. Like, in and out of the game, it just doesn't matter. This guy is holding it down. Like, he's shown commitment to the region, shown commitment to the team. Like, and just the in-houses in between scrims, right? Like, single-handedly trying to improve. He got fed up with how trash his competition was, making videos about how to improve supports. Right, high-level videos about how he can make other supports better so that he can improve in return. That is the least complaining mindset possible. Instead of saying, "Oh, the competition's not good enough, I'm not improving," I'm gonna make the competition good enough so that I can improve. Instead of just saying that they're not. What more could you ask from this player?
Right, what about this then? One thing I want to ask you about in the draft, actually, is when 100 Thieves played against EG, actually, funnily enough, in that series, bizarrely, Abidage just picked Ryze in all matchups except one, right? Meanwhile, on the other side of the draft from Jizuke, he actually was playing the champions that very likely Jensen will play. Like, the LeBlanc, the Syndra, these are the champions that at the moment Jensen plays. I looked it up. Jensen actually only played one game of Ryze in the entire regular split. So what do you actually think in the mid lane matchup in this regard? Obviously, 2 European mid lanes, but they might have like totally different champion pools in this matchup. We'll have to see. What would you anticipate?
I think Ryze is super high priority. I think before playoffs even started, I thought Ryze was going to be crazy good. If not just because EG was playing it and showing everybody how good he was, the rest of the team was really seeing how powerful he was. Got buffed, is a lost chapter champion. So there's a lot to go for when it came to Ryze. People started playing TF, but realized, hey, we can't team fight with this. Side lane's not that good. Who can we make global plays with? Ryze fit that wheelhouse as well. Easy to set up ganks, has some good matchups. So I did think that Ryze was going to be really, really important. And it didn't surprise me so much to see 100 Thieves pick it, but to pick it so many times and that EG did not contest it, that was what most surprised me. I think that 100 Thieves will still continue to play the Ryze because they won't mind taking it into a Syndra, into the LeBlanc. Because I think the strongest thing Ryze has going on for him is that his itemization works really well into the matchups that he's going to be facing off. You go into LeBlanc, you go into Syndra, you rush Merc Treads. Those champions can't really rush Merc Treads into you. They do need the Sorcerer Shoes for damage. So you actually have an advantage in that you stay relevant, that you have kill threat on them, and they don't have kill threat on you anymore. And you're harder to gank, and you're moving faster across the map, so it helps your roaming style. So I think there's a lot that Ryze has going on for him that people are overlooking. And on top of that, he's easier to play. You get to a late game, he's bonkers, and you have a lot of playmaking with the ultimate, if not just for realm warping after a reset or realm warp to tower dive. So I think this champion is crazy good. Just right now, LEC's playing Ryze and really valuing him in the mid lane as well. So I think that TL will probably try to play this. I wouldn't want to leave it up because I think just let Abbedagge play it. Even if I don't think it's that strong, which they might, he played 4 games of it in a row.
Yes.
Right? Just don't let them pick the same shit every time. It's something that apparently not every team remembered in a best of. Just take him off the things that they look good and ask them. It's like, what else you got? All right, I saw you're good at Ryze. Can you do something else? Okay, you can play something else. All right, we won't ban either. You're good, right? You're fine. Because 100 Thieves did that to EG. They said, all right, we think your Ryze and your Syndra's not good. Show us what else you got. Oh, your Lucian is trash right now? Great. We found a weakness. We're going to win through it.
I agree, because the other thing is as well, if you think about when 100 Thieves were at their best, it was with fairly limited champion pools. And obviously the mid lane, they were playing very specific champions to make the comp work. So I would agree, if they find a comp that works, just tell Abbedagge, I want to see your 3rd and 4th best picks. Let's see what else you've got. Because a bunch of the picks he was using in the actual split aren't even relevant now. Like, by the way, good luck picking a Carly right now. Or forget picking fucking Karma. Like, these aren't picks right now. Like, that's why actually, in some ways as well, Jensen has almost sort of had the meta just back into him. Like, Syndra and LeBlanc already are champions he likes to play whenever possible, and they just happen to be flavor of the month at the moment.
I think something really interesting that is always applicable in League is that the difference between a player having an absolute career-defining game and the worst int of his life can just be champion. It just changed the champion, and he can go from the star to the trash can. And you just got to try to ban them out. I think this is one of the most fun aspects of the game anyways. It's just seeing, all right, who can we make int? Who can we actually put off comfort and just make them into a punching bag that we can win through? And Abbedagge has shown that he's not that. He's shown that he actually has a wide enough champion pool that he can hold his own, right? Ban out the Ryze, he can play the Syndra, he can have the Orianna, which is proven to be pretty good at it. Maybe he has something else as well. Probably. He's played plenty through the regular season, but Jizuka did not. And Jensen has enough as well. So I think mid lane pool is just a matter of what we want that is comfort and what we want to even just make sure that you don't get too comfortable on it. Because, man, 4 games in a row of something is just outrageous.
Yes.
He's so warmed up. He knows everything about this champion right now. If he didn't know it before, he's at least going to improve ever so slightly, game after game, whether it's in the last hitting and setting up the minion wave. It just refines the gameplay further, and it's just never where you want to be. You always want to try to get the team into the weakest position possible, not try to fight them at their best.
Right, one thing that will be very interesting is obviously the top lane matchup. As you alluded to, like basically, once they hit the playoffs, everything's been amazing for Alphari. He looks like exactly the player that everyone wanted to see this summer. And by the way, if he'd have played like this in the regular split, he would have been the MVP. He probably would have just been like, but here's the question I have. On the other side, the narrative's supposed to go, unfortunate for some days, isn't it? Because, you know, he was like far away the best player for most of the teams in the LCS in past years. But then this year, when he finally got the good team, he was actually looking pretty ropey himself. You know, he was having a lot of shaky games. I noticed when in the EG series, he seemed to play a lot better. I'll also throw in there, he also, by the way, plays a lot of the champions that currently are very strong in the top lane and always has for the last few years. The Jace, the Gangplank. He plays all the shit that you can imagine, right? Renekton. The question I have is this: how well do you actually think current Someday is going to do in this series?
He did really well into Impact. I think he had a similar champion pool. Let me take a look at exactly what he had, because I know he prioritized Gnar a lot, which is going to be fine. So it's going to be a contested pick. Also had the Gangplank. That'll play well into him. So I do think that they have a similar champion pool that will probably be really relevant in this matchup. Now, will Huhi and match Core JJ effectively? Will Closer actually play as well as send Torin to the top side? I think that will be the biggest difference maker, because that's the one thing that's always about TL. It's not just Alfari, it's the trio that ends up roaming to his side and playing towards him better than any other team. And 100 Thieves has not been a top side focused team. If anything, they usually play more towards the bot side. They usually play more towards mid. So someday will have to fend for himself. And either 100 Thieves will prep like they did against CG, recognize what they're up against and try to match it, or they'll double down on their own strategy with FBI, which I think probably won't be the case. Even though there's a lot of AD carries that really can carry games right now, you can just leave them by themselves, because it's just so much more volatile in the top side of the map, right? You can put him on Varus, put him on Jhin, put him on Aphelios, and everyone's roaming, so it doesn't really matter what action can happen to your AD carry when your top lane's getting denied and it's getting camped at level 1. So I think that someday we'll just need to really be good at calling for help from Huhi in particular, because if Huhi isn't there to cover the dives, having the jungler won't be enough, because there's going to be TPs from mid showing up as well. Everybody wants to dive topside because they know once you unlock Alfari, they've won almost every single game they've done that. So they know that that's just what TL has to fight towards. If they get it, they're playing relaxed. They know they're cruising to the win, whereas 100 Thieves just needs to stop that.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.